Today I have the honor and privilege of interviewing my first grade teacher, as well as a person who is very important to my life now through my church, who has been a prayer warrior, an example of Christian living, and has prayed for my family numerous times and just been part of my life the last 9 years in a very special way. So I would like to get started with our interview. All right, so what is your name?
Dorothy Pye. My full name is Dorothy Jean Gressett Pye.
Okay.
My mother never called me just Dorothy because she didn't like that. I was always Dorothy Jean. So anybody that I grew up with knows, I know if they're from Forsan because they'll call me Dorothy Jean. So.
Love it. Okay, so what were your parents' full names?
My father's name was legally William Walthall Gressett, but he didn't like that, so he went by Walter.
Okay.
And that was what he used. My mother's name was B. Lottie Wood, B-W-E Lottie, L-O-T-T-I-E Wood.
Okay. All right. And do you know where they were born?
Sterling City, Texas.
Both of them?
Yes.
Sterling City, Texas. Okay. And where were you born?
Sterling City.
Okay. All right. And are you willing to give us your birth date?
Yes. September the 12th, 1929.
Okay. And what is your earliest childhood memory?
Probably playing with my younger brothers. As I was the oldest, I wanted to mother and boss them, of course, and they didn't like that, and they wore cowboy boots and so pointed toes, and so they kicked me on the shin. So, and they were, the brother just younger than me, he was 15 months younger. The other one was 6 years younger, so I was probably 8, something like that or more.
Okay. Oh. Okay, so you had 2 siblings then?
Yes.
Both brothers, and what are their names?
The brother next to me, the older one, was Donald Pierce, but my dad gave us nicknames, so he always went by Sonny.
Okay.
And so,
All right.
of course, later on in life as an adult, he went by Don.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then the other brother was William Kenneth, but his nickname was Bubs, and he always went by Bubs all his life. So,
okay. All right. So he was named after your dad's first name.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. That's funny. Okay. So, are there any other things that you can just think about them personally, just growing up, just like their personalities or things that they were into, other than kicking you?
No, we just lived in a very small house, and so we were always, together and this sort of thing. So.
Okay. Can you describe the neighborhood or just the area that you grew up in?
Well, I grew up in the country.
Okay.
We had no conveniences, no electricity. There was a windmill at the back of the house, and we had a faucet on the back porch, which was partially screened in there, and no indoor plumbing. The toilet was out a walk away across a barbed wire fence. So you either crawled through the fence or went around the gate. Well, the gate was hard to open because it was just barbed wire too. So you crawled through that and went to the toilet. So, and there was a Montgomery Ward catalog in there.
That really happens.
Yes,
huh?
it really did.
Okay.
And then we had what we called a slop drawer for night.
Okay. Just by your bed or somewhere in the house?
Yes, in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. So were there any homes nearby?
No.
Not
We were a mile of dirt road to the highway.
Mm.
Also, there were homes up at that, close to that mile, that was a Continental oil camp. At that time, there were oil camps all around. The employees lived in camps, had houses, a row of houses, and there was a camp up there. But it was, we didn't play with any of them or anything like that.
Wow. So why was their home out there? Did the family just homestead there?
My dad raised sheep.
Okay.
And then later raised cattle.
Okay. All right. So, what kind of responsibilities did you have in the home as a child?
I don't remember a lot of responsibilities as a child. Of course, I'd set the table and do things like that. Um, I didn't, Mother didn't have, for a while she cooked on wood, and then we got butane, and that was a big deal. Uh, but as long as she lived, or up until she got sick, I just did, whatever was to be done.
Okay. And
I ironed. I remember ironing, and we had a table, which I have is my dining table, and you put a board on it, and then you put a chair out here and put the other end on that. And for a while, I ironed with flat irons, because then you ironed khakis. My dad wore khakis a long time. And when it was real hot, you ironed the khakis, and then when it cooled off, you ironed the pillowcases.
Wow. I never knew anybody who ironed pillowcases. That's interesting.
Well, then things were different. They didn't have the fabric that we do now.
Yeah. So was it more rough?
Well, it was just cotton that wasn't sanitarized or anything like that. It was just really wrinkled.
Okay. All right. And then where did you go to school?
Forsyth.
Okay.
It was 4 miles away, and so Mother either took us, or later on when she was sick, I drove.
You drove. You actually drove, huh? Up there. Okay. And so I assume there weren't buses of any kind?
No.
Okay.
We were in a corner of another county, and so even to go to where we were scheduled to go, we couldn't. It was too far away, like 30 miles away.
Okay.
And so we went to Forsyth.
Okay. And what was the name of the schools you went to?
Just Forsyth. They just had one
Just was one room school or 2 rooms?
Well, it was for a while. It was mostly that. I know for a while. I remember we didn't have indoor plumbing, and you went across the playground to the toilets out there, and then we had I think pretty much the high school was in a different building.
Okay.
But and the playground was nothing but rocks. I always had skin knees. Mother said I fell down all the time, so I had skin knees.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Wow. All right. So, do you have any outstanding memories from grade school?
I can remember one in first grade. My teacher was Miss Nelson, and she cleaned out her desk and put them in the trash, put things in the trash, and she said, "Don't take anything out of this trash." Well, one girl took out something, and she got a spanking.
Okay.
Other than that, my third grade teacher was a family friend, and so that was kind of special.
Okay. I understand that one. Okay. So, since you did continue into high school, just tell me about that experience. I'm sure
About high school?
About high school.
It was a very small school, as I said, 11 graduates. I was, from the minute I started school, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. So I was, the only business subject we had was typing. And since I had taken piano lessons, I had long fingers and I could type real fast, did real well. So I said I wanted to teach typing and business. We didn't have anything, bookkeeping or anything like that, shorthand or anything. And our superintendent said, "No, you don't." He said, "You want to teach young children." Because at the time I was teaching the preschoolers at church, teaching their Sunday school. So he said, "You major in elementary ed."
Oh. So that was planted pretty early.
Yes,
in
yes.
your life.
The minute I started school, that's what I wanted to do.
Okay. So, so did you have a favorite teacher? Was it your, it could have been in any year.
Probably Mrs. Conger, the third grade teacher, and then when I got up older, there was a Mr. Hines that was kind of a favorite.
Okay. And what was special about them?
I don't know. Just had
a connection.
He was fair. He just was, a good teacher.
Okay. And so what? We're gonna change directions a little bit. What did you like to eat when you were younger?
Well, I ate what we had, which was pinto beans.
Okay.
We had pinto beans 2 meals a day, every day of my life that I lived at home. My mother didn't, of course, not having the convenience that she didn't bake. My dad didn't like dessert, and so I can't remember a favorite food. I just whatever was there,
Was there.
We were 4 miles from this little community where there was ice. And so if Dad went up and bought a block of ice and then brought it home to the pickup, he didn't have much left. Then it just went in an ice box with no, they really didn't keep anything cool.
Okay.
And so as far as foods, I don't remember anything really special. I remember one time Mother made a pie, which is very unusual. We never had dessert at a meal. And we had some cousins come in, and so while one of the girls was eating the pie, every time she cut a slice, she'd talk about how tough the crust was.
Your poor mom.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yes.
Wow. So they bought if they were going to, they bought blocks of ice and put them into an ice box. Was it similar to what a refrigerator looks like at all, or is it just a?
No, we never had a refrigerator.
Okay, just a big box with the lid that would close.
Yes, it's a box and a top that you put the ice in.
Okay.
Rosalie Pappas, I think, has one.
Okay.
And then the bottom is a door you open. But it's not going to keep anything cool in there.
Right.
I can remember when we'd used to go to town on Saturday and buy groceries. And we'd get a candy bar. So my brothers would eat theirs, and I'd put mine in the icebox. Well, one of them would get it out and eat it, of course. And Mother would say, I don't know who to be madder at. You because you didn't eat it then, or them because they got it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. So Saturdays, that was your day to go get groceries. So you took the 4-mile drive over.
No, this was 12 in Big Spring.
Oh, okay.
We had a couple of grocery stores for a while. That Forest Hand was a good sized town when they discovered oil there. And so they had 2 grocery stores and a lot of stuff for a while.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what kind of clothes did you wear?
Dresses. I don't remember wearing pants.
Okay. Shorts? Ever?
No.
Okay.
No, I remember that in the wintertime we had long johns. And you did not take them off until Easter. I don't care how hot it got. And I hated them. And then I had pull-up socks. And they were always sliding down, so I was always pulling them. I hated them, But I don't remember up until I got, ready to get out of high school, I guess, wearing
anything else?
I must have worn jeans sometime in there.
Okay.
But jeans weren't really popular then for girls.
Okay. So what about any hobbies that you had?
Then I really didn't have anything. We didn't have anything. I did embroidery.
Okay.
Yes, I embroidered when I was young.
Okay. Alrighty. And did your mom teach you?
Yes. And then I sewed. I did a lot of sewing when I was in high school. I took what we called home ec, and I learned how to sew, and Mother had a treadle sewing machine, and that's what I sewed on. So.
Okay. So can you remember as a teenager anything that would be considered slang terms back then?
Considered what?
Slang?
No, I don't.
Okay. Alrighty. And so you said your father earned his money by raising sheep and then later cattle. So was it just purely for selling? Did you keep any? Did you?
No, when they came to share the sheep, well, we would they'd always give them a mutton to eat, and so we would have some of that, But other than that, it was, and then the cat, we didn't kill the beef at all.
Just sold them.
We didn't have refrigeration, and what we did have, sometimes like on the mutton, there was a locker, a freezer locker in Big Spring, and we'd take it, the meat up there and put it in.
Okay. And what do you remember about your parents or grandparents, even just?
My dad's mother, I knew very little about. My dad's father started the first gin in Sterling County and got killed in the gin. His first wife, he had married and had children. I'm not sure whether there were 3 or 4, because I don't remember who were half brothers and full brothers. And he got killed in the gin, and of course, then a woman didn't have any skills. So his first wife died, and then his second wife, my dad's mother, was about the age of the stepkids, of that first bunch of kids. And so she opened a store on the side of the road called Broom, and it was just sold a little bit of everything, Between Sterling City and San Angelo, there's still a sign. 11 miles out of Sterling City, there's a sign, Broom, and that's where my grandmother had her store.
Okay.
And we didn't visit her. She lived in one room in the back of it. And we ever didn't visit her a lot because we couldn't stay, there. My other grandparents lived out about 30 miles from Sterling City on the highway to Snyder. And so we would visit them, and they were my granddad farmed and had a few cattle. I know that not very many, because every night all the cows were put in the loft, and he fed them.
Okay. So, who was more strict, your mother or your father?
Daddy was.
Okay. Do you have any vivid memories of when you got disciplined?
Not by him. I remember one day, I don't know what I'd done, but I got in trouble with Mother, and she was going to swat me. So I ran, and at the time, there was one of the rooms in the house that Daddy used to put wool in after he sheared the sheep. He stored the wool there until he got it to town. So I ran and tripped on a wool sack and fell down, and Mother didn't spank me.
Okay. She had compassion.
Yes, oh yes, she was so sweet.
But you ran from her.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't an angel by any means.
Oh my gosh. All right. So can you describe any trips that your family took or moves that you ever made?
We didn't take vacations. I do remember when Mother had breast cancer. She was at Scott and White in, where's Scott and White? Anywhere, Central Texas, Scott and White Hospital. She was there for radiation, and we went down one weekend and spent the weekend with her. But we didn't take vacations. Somebody had to milk the cows, and then I got to spend, when I was 8 years old, I had my tonsils out, and went to San Angelo to have that done. Got to spend the night in the hotel, and that was really a treat.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow. So, when did your mom pass away?
When I was 15.
Okay. And your father, y'all just stayed there in Sterling City?
She had breast cancer, and I never knew that she wasn't going to die until the night before. She was in the hospital in Big Spring for a long time, and we'd ask, when is she coming home? And, I was glad they didn't tell us, thank goodness for that. And then one night, we went in to visit her, and maybe earlier than this, she told me to go down, and had a cousin who worked at a little dress shop called Franklin's, go down there and buy a dress. And so I did, and it was totally inappropriate for a funeral, but it was me. It had some glitter on it, it was just me.
Yes.
And then the night before she died, usually Daddy would pick us up and take us to town to visit her in the hospital. And somebody else picked us up, and I was mad. that they picked us up. But I didn't know why. I was mad because she picked us up and Daddy didn't, I guess. And so that last year that Mother was alive, a cousin of mine who had just graduated from high school came and lived with us and helped Daddy with the cooking in the house. And so she told me then, your mother is sicker than you know. So then I realized. Then the next morning, we stayed with friends. My brothers and I spent the night with some friends up at Forsan, our little town. And then Daddy came out the next morning and told us she was gone.
But your family never left. Even after she passed away, you just stayed there.
Yeah, we stayed
until
there. My mother's parents wanted to take us, and it made my daddy so mad. He just really had nothing to do with them after that. He was so mad.
Okay. Was your family very religious?
No, my mother always took us to church. My dad rarely ever went, but Mother always took us to church.
Okay. Do you have memories from being there, being at church?
Yes.
You said you taught later, so you had to have had some kind of impact on you.
I know where I was sitting in that little bitty church. There was just a little Baptist church was all that was in Forsan. And I can remember where I was sitting when I was saved. And I remember sometimes I played the piano. That must have been horrible. Because I couldn't play hymns. Who knows what it sounded like?
Oh
you know, there were just a few of us there, so it was like,
sure. Oh my gosh.
it was okay.
So were you saved there?
Yes,
Okay.
when I was 8 years old.
Okay. All right. And was it from the Sunday school class or from the preacher or some special event?
I'm not sure. I just remember sitting in that pew and thinking, I felt like I was walking down. And I knew that, I was under conviction. So when I came out, my steps went up, and so I was.
Yeah. Wow. So were you baptized in there that time too?
Yes.
Did you have a place to go to get baptized, or did they?
Well, I think we had a little baptistry.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I think we did. I don't remember being baptized any other place.
Like in a pond or anything? Okay.
No.
Okay. So talk to me about your Christmas traditions.
Nothing special.
Okay. Did you have a tree?
Oh yes, we always had a tree. Yes, and but really nothing special. I have I can remember it was either the Christmas. Sometimes we'd go to my grandparents, I think, because when we come home, there'd always be something in the tree, left for us.
Okay.
And I can remember I have a bracelet that I think it was either the Christmas before Mother died or the Christmas after Mother died. It was sitting on the piano. And I remember having that gift,
Okay. So were there any other just strong family traditions that your mom?
Not really. Not really. We just kind of, survived.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So nothing that you've carried on with your family you can attribute to that? Okay. And so did your dad ever serve in the military?
No.
Okay. But you lived through that wartime, some of the war times.
Yes.
So you have any...
I was, I think about 12 when my daddy was too young for World War I.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when the war ended, we were at church, I think, and heard about it. Was it on Sunday? Anyway, I remember when it ended.
Okay. Okay, so tell me about your dating years.
My dating years?
Dating years.
Oh man.
And what was an appropriate place to go date or go on a date? That sort of thing.
We didn't have that much to do. We'd usually go to Big Spring, which was 12 miles away, and just kind of maybe just park on the street or walk up and down the street and see. That's what all the other kids were doing, And rarely we go to movies, sometimes, but not often, not always, a lot.
Did you meet your future husband there?
Oh, that's a great story. When I was in January of my junior year, my dad's brother had a little service station on the highway, um, and so she had a party. My cousin had a party, and he went to school in Garden City, which was 30-something miles away, and he was at the party. And so I met him there, and we started dating, and we dated until we got out of high school. I graduated and went to college. He had goofed off, and so he didn't graduate until the next January, and he went to the Army. And so I said, this won't work with this. So we didn't see each other again. And occasionally he would come home and had good friends while I was teaching, and I would see him, but we just rarely ever dated any. And then I got out of college and I was teaching in Fort Stockton, and they called me to the office, to the telephone. So I went in to answer, and it was a good friend in Odessa who was married right out of high school, and they lived there. And she said, this was Halloween. She said, JC's home from the Army, and you're going to come up and spend the weekend, and we're going to a four-stand Garden City football game. And I said, no, I'm not. And she said, yes, you are. And this went on and on and on, and here's the principal plus other teachers standing around. So what was I going to say? Finally, I said, okay. So I did. I drove it. We married 7 months later and never missed a weekend seeing each other after that.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
And I had dated a guy.
Story.
The whole time I was teaching in Fort Stockton, I dated this man. It was a really nice man. We had the best time, we square danced all over that part of the state and just had a really good time, but I didn't love him.
Oh, okay. Oh, amazing. All right, so what college did you go to?
West Texas State.
Right.
It wasn't West Texas A&M then. It was used to be West Texas Teachers College, and it was just West Texas State.
Okay. And so did you live at home and travel, or did you live at the college?
No, I lived at college.
Okay.
My one of my good friends, who had graduated the year before I did, went there because she had cousins that lived right close by, and she stayed with them. So I went there and roomed with her the first year.
Okay, gotcha. That's good. That's nice. So, do you have any other memories about your first job? Your first teaching job? Or was teaching your very first job, or did you work aside from that? Okay.
When I was in college, there were 8 of us friends who ran around together. And we had Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian, Lutheran, Church of Christ. Mm-hmm. And 2 of us were Baptist. So she and I decided we'd teach together. So we got a job in Fort Stockton. At that time, Fort Stockton had a spring-fed swimming pool. Mm. And so she was a great swimmer. I don't like the water. And but then the other tale was that I had always said I was going to marry a rancher. So there are 2 tales out there. We went there because of the swimming pool, and then other people said, no, you said you were always going to marry a rancher. So you went there because of the ranch country. So, but we had a fabulous time. Okay. Didn't have a car. Okay. We got a ride, I guess, from a woman who taught at the school, because we taught, at that time, they were segregated. The Mexican children went in one school, and that's where we taught. Okay. So we rode with her. And the first year, for a while, we lived in, had a bedroom in a woman's house who had a dress shop there. And then later we got a little apartment that was about like this, bedroom and the bathroom right there. Mm-hmm. Lived there.
So you were at the segregated school.
Sounds
like, and the school for them. And so did you have to speak Spanish?
No,
you know Spanish?
The kids, first grade, they learned English.
Okay, from that point on.
And then I taught 2nd grade and 3rd grade there in that school.
Okay, alrighty. Okay, so when did you get married?
In let's see, we taught there 3 years and got married. My friend and I did. Got married 2 weeks apart.
Okay.
Never had more fun with anybody in my life than I did with her.
Okay. All right.
We were just on the same page about everything.
Okay, so what was your wedding like?
A very small wedding in our little church at home.
Okay.
And just nothing special at all. She and I wore the same wedding dress, got married 2 weeks apart. She got married in Fort Stockton, married a Fort Stockton boy. And I got married home.
All right.
And that dress was worn by her husband's had 2 sisters. The dress was worn by about 5 people. And it's going in a museum in Floyd County in Floydada with that family, because that family is very prominent in that town. Isn't that neat?
That is neat.
Yeah.
Oh, very nice. So, tell me your children's names and where they were born.
Okay. Mark is the oldest, born in Odessa. They were all born in Odessa.
Okay, so Mark, and then your
Mel is the middle one, and then Matt is the youngest. They're all Mark, Mel, and Matt. They don't have nicknames. Oh, and my nickname, I told you my brother's nicknames.
Yes.
My nickname was, my brothers called me Titter until they got old enough to realize how that sounded, because they couldn't say the S's straight up. So then they called me Sis.
Okay. How cute. Oh my gosh. Okay, so when and why did your family come to Hobbs?
Job.
Okay, his job, your job?
His job.
His job.
No. We were living in Oklahoma City, and it was downturn in oil, and they let everybody else go and moved us here.
Okay.
And I had not worked. Well, I did teach the first year we were married. We decided that when we got we married and taught in Odessa, and then got pregnant, and then stayed home and hadn't taught it. I substituted.
All right. So, all right, tell me your husband's name, his full name.
Jesse Carl Pye Jr.
Okay.
But he picked up Jake when he was in college, and so he went by Jake. I had always called him JC, so that's what I called him forever, was JC.
Mm-hmm. And you said he was in the Army. Did he serve during wartime?
Yes, but he didn't. He was called in during the Korean War, but he didn't have to go overseas because he could type.
Okay.
So he got to stay in Killeen and didn't have to go overseas. So.
Okay. Alrighty. So what big world events are most memorable for you over all these years?
Possibly, we were up in the mountains when the first man landed on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I remember why now. Friends of ours had opened a Honda dealership in Big Spring, and they said, we're loading up trailers with Hondas and going up to the mountains. And I hated motorcycles. And so that's what we did.
Oh no. So you rode motorcycles?
On the back, no, of this friend. That was the one I'd ride on. No. And my husband always said, boys, if I wanted to kill you, I'll hit you in the head with a ball-peen hammer, but I won't let you ride a motorcycle. Well, guess what? They all wound up with motorcycles.
Oh my gosh.
Street.
Yeah.
I mean, dirt bikes.
Right. Okay. So the first man on the moon was just stands out for you. Okay. And that was in 1969. That was the year I was born, I believe.
I'm thinking that was right.
Okay. And so this is a question that she provided. It says, what do you recall of the turmoil of the 1960s in your area? So I don't know if that's referring to Vietnam. I don't know if that's referring to other
In the 60s,
political things.
I was raising boys.
Okay. Yeah.
And we were raising boys, you know.
Yeah.
It was, I don't remember anything
Okay. Okay.
turmoil. It was particularly strong about one thing or another, you know.
Sure. Yes. I know, like the civil rights were going, that was at a heightened point, and there was a lot going on, I'm sure. Okay, so who have your best friends been? Just pick a few across time.
Probably my friend from college,
Okay. And what are their names?
Jean Mays.
Okay. Okay. And is that the one that you got married
Yes.
close
yes.
to? Okay. All right, so in looking back, is there a person or experience that you would credit with having changed or seriously impacted your life?
Oh, my mother dying early on, and then my husband died.
Okay. So can you talk about that just briefly, if you're okay with that?
Well, my husband had been on a sales trip. We were talking about when he died, yes. He'd been on a sales trip to in Texas. He got in that evening and, you know, we just went to bed that night. I'd been in bed very long, and he woke up with vomiting. And I said, oh, let me call the doctor. No. He said, I just had too much to eat and drink and all this, you know, that's just what it is. So he got up, and I came to the living room and sat in the chair, and I went back to bed. And the two younger boys, Mark, the older boy, was at Tech. The two younger boys were at the junior college. And so they were sitting up watching TV, and so in a minute I heard them call. And I knew that something was wrong. I walked in, and the chair, he was in a recliner. And God said, he's gone, but I'll take care of you. And he did. Like I said, Mark was at Tech. The other two boys were at junior college. I said, God, I know they need an education. I think that's within your will. And I think they need to be at Tech. We had to pay out-of-state tuition at the time. They needed to be there because they could come home. We could see each other when we needed to. And so I made less than $9,000. Very little life insurance, very little, only what the company provided. But God provided. Every time they called, they, Mom, tuition's due. Something, God would put up the money. It wouldn't work on paper, I promise you. But he provided. One time, Joe Brown, before these houses were developed, he had a lot. And he said, buy this lot. You don't have to build on it. Just buy this lot. So I did later on. I sold it for twice what I paid for it. That covered something, you know. And I learned Philippians 4:13 and 19. My God shall provide all your needs according to his riches and glory. And I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I grew more as a Christian during that time because he did. They went on to graduate in Tech and are all people I'm very proud of.
And how old was your husband at the time he died?
45.
So how did your boys handle that?
Well, it was rough, really rough.
Yeah.
You know, I called Mark, and at the time his good friend Ross Culp was at Tech. And I said, go get Ross and have him bring you home. And so I know, you know, a lot of times, you know, they'd be crying and I'd hear them in the bedroom. But they all, they did well, made good grades. They never were too interested in the honor roll when they were in school. But when they got out of tech, they all made some honor roll, not the top, but some honor roll before they got out,
Sure.
And, got their degrees, which was, they knew what they needed to do, and then went on to be successful.
Okay. Okay, so this is going to just be more generic about the world that we live in, but what do you feel are some significant changes that you have just seen through the decades? Just
way too much controversy and turning away from God. That's the sad thing. And there's things that are very disappointing, politically and that sort of thing. And our nation is such a great nation, and Americans don't appreciate what a country we have. Yes. I'm subbing, the kids get the lecture.
Very true.
Appreciate this country.
Yes. So how long did you teach here, or just teach at all? What was you remember your first year of teaching, and when did you retire?
I taught 3 years in Fort Stockton, got married, taught 1 year in Odessa, and then then stayed home and raised boys. Then we moved here, and I started teaching here. Then when they were all in middle school, I think, so,
Okay.
or close to, yeah.
Okay. And so what year did you retire?
Says 94.
94.
25 years.
You've been subbing ever since, correct?
No, when I first retired, Darnell had the dress shop, and so she called me and said, would you like to do alterations while Doris goes on vacation this summer? And I said, as long as it's just a hem or a simple seam. No, she could take a jacket apart, and you still can. And so I went down and did alterations, and then did some selling. Worked for her, went off and on when I wanted to. I said, anytime this is not flexible, not working, let me know. Worked for her for 6 years. Yeah. I'd work part-time, and then I was in town, I enjoyed working. So worked for her for 6 years. And then she closed, and Evelyn opened a dress shop out in the El Paso Center. And I worked for her, same thing, part-time, and when I wanted to. And then when she left, her husband had Alzheimer's, and so she had to move closer to family. And so when she left, I closed the store down, and then decided, well, what I want to do. And I thought, I love kids. I hope I never have to live where there aren't kids around. And I decided I'd substitute, so I did.
Okay. All right. So what are the most difficult and the most rewarding things about growing older?
Well, I'm grateful, so grateful for help. And first of all, that I have God. And I'm grateful for the health I have. Difficult, I used to go out in the yard and spend an hour every morning, working in the yard, and I don't do that, I haven't done that this year, or last year, and I don't know, it's just, I've lost osteoporosis, I've lost over 6 inches in height, but that's, I'm grateful for what I can do. I don't worry too much about what I can't do. Try to be positive.
Yes. Okay. So what have you, or were you going to say something else?
Nothing.
No, okay. What has been your, maybe your favorite game to play or hobbies as an adult?
I like to play bridge.
Okay.
And
do you still do that?
Oh yeah. Have a great time playing bridge. Play about once a week. And, yeah, I really enjoy that. And Oh, I play on my iPad. You know, I wouldn't be in this century without my boys, you know. They bought me an iPad and they bought me a Mac laptop and an iPhone, and so they keep me, my boys spoil me rotten.
That's cool, that's good.
So they really do.
That's good. Okay. So, are you pretty competitive when you're playing bridge, or is it just for fun?
No. I said when I worry about the score, I'll quit playing.
Okay.
It's fun.
Okay, good. And what else do you do just for fun? I mean, do you just...
Not a whole lot. I don't enjoy movies. Not movies at all. I'm not a big TV watcher. I watch a lot of news because so I don't have a lot of activities, just mostly.
All right, so maybe going to visit your grandkids as much as possible.
Oh goodness, yes. Oh yes, getting to see my kids.
The greats. And...
Grateful for the flight to Houston out of here, because that's where 2 of the boys live, and one lives in Lafayette. So
okay,
that's not that far away.
That's good. Okay, so what has been your favorite book at any point in your life, and why?
Well, besides the Bible, I don't read a lot. Read magazines, but not very many books. The biography of George Carver. If you haven't read it, read it.
Okay, I sure will. Why is that the one that comes to mind?
Because he was the son of a slave, and she ran away. Mother ran away, and got to a safe house, and they came after her and took her back. And he was raised by a white family, but never prejudiced, and his accomplishments were absolutely unbelievable.
Okay. So what are some of the values and principles that you live by?
Integrity, honesty. I just believe in being fair. I really care about people. I don't like the pride I have in my life, but I just enjoy people.
And what is your happiest memory?
That's a lot of happy memories.
Well, you can name a few. If you have a few, that's fine. Just things that were like highlights. Like,
all my children, of course. My great-grandchildren. I just have 7 grandchildren, 8 grandchildren. You know, they're just so much fun. Times just get better and better.
That's good. So, what do you want your children and grandchildren to remember about you?
I hope they remember how important God is in their lives.
All right. And what message would you have for future generations?
Get in the Word. Follow God's Word. You know, raise your children to be disciplined and teach them to listen and love them.
Yes.
And that's such a joy to see all of my children raise theirs right, and my grandchildren are raising theirs right, and it's such a joy to see that.
Yes.
And modern technology is so wonderful with all we can see it. In spite of its bad influence at times, it's a lot of
It's got benefits.
Yeah, you bet.
Especially. All right, last question, which is up to you, but is there anything else that you wanted to share that I didn't cover?
Only I love my church. I'm so grateful to have a church I love and a church family that I love. And everybody has a choice, and my choice is to stay with my church.
Okay. Well, that's all I have. So.
Love everybody in it. So.